started her up. We're trying to assemble. I figured out that the 4 bolts go on top here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the motor mount there. I have no idea how I'm going to tighten. Oh, yes, I do. I took the hood off. So originally, we had the hood on that. Not the hood, the base. We had the base on that. But I realized I had no way to tighten the motor mount. So we put the motor mount on, the 4 bolts for the new handle. Now our next step, we also put the mounts onto the midsection here, the 1, 2, 3, 4 mounts. And I think the next step is to slide that guy onto, you guessed it, that guy. Let's try that now. So we're gonna slide this motor mount into this thing. This and oop. I've never assembled anything before where I actually cared about scratching it because I just painted it. I don't want to ruin the paint. Okay. Motor mounts have to fit into this thing. Okay. That motor mount's in. Oh my goodness. Huh. It's just tight. And I greased up some of the workings already, so now my hands are greasy. I'm trying not to touch anything. That motor mount is in. Okay. So it's kind of loose. We're going to leave it loose for now. Tighten this motor mount up here. Not tight, because it's still kind of, it's going to wiggle because the bottom's not set. This piece here. So we got it in. I'm going to wait to tighten this motor mount. And the hardest part was just squeezing this motor mount into position. So there's 2 of them. 2 motor mounts were in place. And you just have to kind of force it in. Leave the cover off so you're able to tighten this nut. This will be my next tightening. Once I fit what I believe to be the next step. There's going to be my little cap, my little end caps here. We can definitely throw some paint on those. And then, because I painted the caps, check this out. How cool is that? I painted those, isn't that neat? So, we can paint these bolts too. So I think these are gonna go, I guess they go through this piece. There's 2 bolt holes there. I don't know what's up or what's down. Is it like this up or is this up? So I think the round piece is gonna connect to the round part, I think. Yeah, because then the little triangle part can go on the bottom. So that means this is gonna go like this. They should put an L and an R on these. That would help. Yeah. I think they go like that. I think it goes like that. Not even close to being as far over as it needs to be. Okay. I mean, like, I am struggling over here. So we've made some progress. What I basically did was lifted the motor mount's holding it on. The top motor mount's holding it on. And I'm bending it up. And I'm trying to force just the cap with the 2 screw holes in. And in order not to beat it up too much, I know I'm basically beating it to hell. It's going to take another little sanding coat. I'm going like this. And doing that, got both screws through both holes, out the other side, and we're left with that. So now we can take our other end cap, fit it onto that motor mount, and screw the holes in, and that part should be done. Just kind of line these screw holes up, start screwing them in, and then I'll force the motor mount into place. That's the plan. Right here is on standby. It looks like I got threads in there. So we tightened up our bolts, threw a little spray paint, made it look pretty. Put the nut and the washer, I had to find some fresh washers, and again, spray painted, make it look pretty, tighten that down. Before we put the pan on, we tightened our 9/16 nut here for that motor mount. And that's it. That's all I'm doing to this midsection as of right now. So my next goal is to assemble the lower unit. That's downstairs. Let's take a look at what we got to do with that. All right, quick lesson, hopefully before the battery dies. As I speak, I swear to goodness, I was talking about the lower unit to this thing. It came in the mail literally today, just now. I went to go get it. So here's a 60s or a later 50s, 60s lower unit. Here's a 50s lower unit. They are identical. Almost. They got little design differences depending on make and model and everything. However, the casting and everything will fit to almost all of the units. However, here's your difference. The one on the right is meant for the drive shaft shock absorber. So the shock absorber goes through here, and then the gear hooks to the shock absorber. On this one, the one that I needed, the gear hooks right to the drive shaft. So that this opening needs to be the correct opening for a skinny drive shaft, whereas the 50s ones have a big wide opening for the shock absorber. There's your difference. You can see the diameter difference. So I did ask a question. I was wondering if you could use this. The drive shaft have a lot of wiggle room. Is that a problem? So if somebody wants to, Glenn, you want to answer that question. Would this work on the 60s motor with the wider opening where the drive shaft would fit right through, whereas this is more of a tight fit? Hey, look, the gear's right there. Can't do that twice. Anyway, comment below, like and subscribe. Catch you in a minute. Here's your pre-primer lower unit. I scraped and scraped and scraped. And I put like 20 minutes into it. It's like 19 more minutes than I'm used to doing. So, yeah, there's some spots the paint might not stick, but it's the lower unit. Nobody's going to see it. And it's going to be a real showstopper when I bring it to the boys on the boat. So we're going to hit it with the primer sander now. And probably let that sit overnight. Get a brand new microfiber towel to dry this thing off and clean it. I'm going to start with this stuff. Primer, filler, sander. Filler primer. Minor imperfections. I might take, I don't know, it might take a bunch of coats to do what I want it to do. See what happens after a couple coats. It actually came out a lot better than I thought it would. A lot of the spots came out. A couple like this one. Some are just deep. And I could sit here and sand it again. A little spot here. But it's not showing through as much as I thought. So I think that's it. I think we're just going to maybe hit it with a light sand with the going right up to 800. Probably should wet sand it, really. Just a light, just to make it smooth again. Yeah. Just the divots are gonna show in the paint. I don't feel like sanding this thing every day for the next 10 years. I'm not gonna lie to you, I wanted the dark hunter green for the head and I wanted the lighter one for the body. I'm not liking it, but there's nothing I can do now, so it's gonna stay what it's gonna stay. It looks good though, it looks painted. It looks painted. It looks new. I I assembled the power head and I put the lower unit seal in it with the spring and the carbon washer and all that stuff. You can see other videos on how to do that. It's very simple. This is not one of the ones where the power head has to be off for the lower unit to come off. This is the one where the lower unit drops a little bit and reveals the shift linkage. The problem is the way the lower seal works is if you put the power head on without the lower unit, your center for the spring mechanism might not be 100% in line with the drive shaft. So what I did was I put a couple power head bolts in, flipped her upside down, stuck the drive shaft in just to make sure that it was able to connect with the splines and the power head and that the seal is centered. So that's what I did with Susie. Then I proceeded to tighten up the power head bolts. I put a new rope on the starter, did a round, did the wind 15 times, made the special tool to wind it and install the pull start, which works excellent. Then I started to assemble my mag plate, and being that it ran, y'all saw the video. The link's going to be up here, hopefully up here and not over here. When I started cleaning up the points, like every piece of sandpaper just kept coming out dirty. So I said, you know what? I got a tune-up kit in the basement. Let's put new points in it. So we're going to put new points in. There's videos on how to do that. And if you guys obviously want a renew video, I'll do that as well. I was going to change the condensers too, but I mean, the top did look pretty much brand new. These coils are older. This older stuff, you know, it looks like it's got a little wear to it, but they're newer. They look phenomenal. We're not going to touch the coils. I'm not going to touch the condensers. They look like they've been replaced. The points, however, looked a little off. Now, when you guys buy these points, just be careful. There's been a bad batch of Evinrude OMC. I don't want to say what website you get them from, but the OEM kits were not good. They're not lining up right. For right now, I would suggest getting the Sierra kit. And obviously, your Sierra kit number for this motor would be here. I don't know if it's focusing. 1850006 Sierra kit. The Sierra kits have been fitting very nicely. So, we're going to throw some new points in Susie next. In the meantime, we found a cool lower unit for the Tahatsu. I think I showed that. We got the gears and the bolts ready to go. I was able to reassemble the power head. We cleaned up the water pump housing. Cleaned up the water pump plate for the housing. The housing was cracked in the disassembly, so we got to find one of these online with a nice new water impeller. I actually have the impeller. And we can reassemble her, get her up and running. So next steps are to put the points together, put them in, adjust them, make them pretty. Then this motor is waiting on the lower unit. eBay's being shipped as we speak. Lower unit I had in mind. I painted it, installing the shift rod seal and the bushing, cracked it. So that's in the truck going to the scrapyard. I had another lower unit. Here's the skeg to it. It's from a 50s. The lower unit 50s motor had the drive shaft, shock absorber, so the base is too wide. The newer ones come with no drive shaft and a skinnier orifice for the drive shaft right to the gears. So now I have to, so that's why I had to buy a new one. So my lower unit that I have is no good. We didn't do anything to this fuel pump. It worked great. I'm missing the top. I think I'm going to take this fuel pump off because I reassembled another one. I had another one lying around, so I checked it, reassembled it, and we're going to probably just throw this one on there instead of putting an outside cover on that one. I did order a thermostat for this, so I put that in, and obviously I reassembled and then repainted so that it looks fresh. Next step is, since I don't have the lower unit, we're going to reassemble the handle. The handle's up here. I painted the handle. It's been sitting up there. We'll reassemble the handle, put that on, washed the outer handle, clean it up a little bit. It didn't come out great. It looks better than before. Finishing up the handle install. Anybody else? I always install it upside down. Anybody's do that? It feels like it's supposed to be flipped. I don't know. I keep screwing it up. Anyway, so you realize you can't put it in upside down because this side won't go in with the gear, no matter how you play with it, because it's two separate pieces. And trying to get it into place wouldn't work with this on the outside. I scratched the paint and messed everything up now. So I'll have to retouch that up. Once you flip it, you get this side up, you switch the gear into place, you do a little spin move, and then it'll go together, and you put your main bolt through the center here. That'll hold it. And then you got to find your little tiny guys to finish up the project here on the bottom. The problem is I can't get this one to go. And then there's a little washer on this end. You got to make sure it's in the front. The handle assembly's coming along. I need to tighten it up a little bit. I got some grease in there. Some Evinrude. I use the triple guard grease, Evinrude, for basically everything now. Until you get the torque you want. This is pretty good for me. It's not falling. It's not super tight where I can't move it, but I gotta. Here we go. Perfect. Boom. Any excess grease, kind of wipe and squeeze, fit in there. And then once we're all together, we'll take a rag to her, maybe touch up paint, clean up all the whoozy messies. Okay. So we have a handle. So to finish the handle off, you gotta find the spring. This guy, and if this guy is like loose, just kind of tighten it here like this, and then fit it. There's a nice custom paint job. I think I have another one I can use. There's a little notch at the bottom it'll fit into ish. You never go by these anyway. This is just to keep it as original as possible. You know, it's nice and tight there. Now we need my spring. So this spring goes in. Like so. Push your handle on like so. You push it on. It'll fit in the groove. And you get your bolt. So here you have a bolt, right? This to me looks like an old carburetor bolt. The bolt that goes in that hole looks just like it. Not just like it, but it's shorter, fatter, but you'll notice it's got a little bit rounder of a head with the star on it. That's how you know what bolt goes in here. Too funny. And then you push, twist, and it should go on. But before I do that, I want to grease up some stuff here. I want to grease this part. I'm going to grease the spring on the inside and a little bit in there. And then I'm going to put a little grease on the spring. I'm going to coat this section. You probably could get nutty with the grease here. I'm just not going to do it. It is not needed. Side. Let's try to get that on power target. And this notch here, that's going to fit into the notch on the handle. And sometimes you got to kind of look at it. You'll see the hole, but if it doesn't go, it's because you're not in the notch. So if you're going like this and it's not squeezing, it's because the notch on the handle did not fit into the notch. Oh. Here, up top. Sometimes it might be reversed. Oh, sugar. Let's try that. You'll see it, it'll kind of like fit in. You can use the gear on the side here. And we want to spin it so that the hole lines up with the notch. So the notch is on top. The notch is on top and my hole is right there. So I need the hole on the handle to face that way. I'll show you in a minute. Now that I have it in position. So now my hole is here, ready to accept the screw. And in she goes. And this time, oh look, there's our, so there you go. So see how the notch is there? Oh, there is, okay, so there's a notch up and down. That's what makes it hard to squeeze in. Which means, yeah, so we just gotta invert the handle, that's all. Try to keep the plastic piece there. And then we're gonna get our screw. Push that out of the way 6 times. Okay, it looks like I felt it. I kind of felt it go in a little bit. And it looks like I can feel the screw catching a thread. We got it. All right. Now, there we go. Now my indicator's in the right spot. Not that these ever really line up. You should never go by the handle anymore, especially if you pick one old. I mean, out the box, yeah, sure. That's perfect. And we're in, so this is shut down. This is slow. That's a shift gear. Wide open throttle. Bing. Handles installed. Take a look at Susie. Susie's coming together. Beautiful. Stick with me. If you guys want to see something in particular, let me know. Also, please don't forget to click like on the videos. Helps the algorithm.